Hi, my name is Vicki Ellis and I am the Executive Director of Heritage Ranch Christian Children's Home. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video on parenting styles. I am currently doing a video series on how our parenting styles are formed and what style we typically use with our kids. The goal of this series is to educate you on the different styles and to teach you about the democratic approach, which is the most ideal style if you want to have productive outcomes with your kids. So today I'm going to be talking about the mixed approach to parenting. There are 4 typical parenting styles that people use: punitive, permissive, mixed, and democratic. You may have heard them called many other things, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be referring to them in that manner. So our parenting styles are typically pretty consistent in our interactions with our kids. Sometimes they may shift depending on how stressed we're feeling, or honestly, if we're in a really good mood, then we might use a more effective parenting style. The goal of this video series is for us to really critically evaluate the effectiveness of our default parenting style, and when needed, to learn a new style that will be more effective. So our styles are typically formed by how our parents raised us, what our spouse prefers if we're married, and even what we've seen our friends doing. So do be aware that your parenting style has been formed in a lot of different ways. For the purpose of today's video, I'm going to be talking about the mixed approach and how it's used in one's parenting. So my goal will be to help you identify if this is your primary style and to highlight some of its drawbacks. And later in this series, I'm going to talk about the democratic approach. And so I want you to be thinking about how you could be prepared to shift to that approach. Doing this video today is a great place for you to start from in thinking about how you may want to shift your approach. So let's dive right into it, and I'm going to talk about what I'm referring to as the mixed approach. So the mixed approach, it's neither firm nor respectful. So this is an approach that falls between punitive and permissive, which are the 2 videos that I've done so far in this series. So if you didn't see them, please go back and check them out. The mixed approach is a combination of punitive and permissive training models and is characterized by inconsistency. So parents who use this approach do a lot of going back and forth between punitive parenting and permissive parenting. And it really is that they're searching for the best way to get their point across, but they do so by vacillating between the 2. So the most common variation of this approach is the one in which parents begin permissively, then they wear down, lose their patience, and they resort to punitive tactics. So imagine that your kid has done something and you've tried to talk with them about it and told them why they should do it. They're not responding. You get really frustrated, and so you just go kind of hardcore the other way. The other way this usually works is that you begin punitively, where you're really intense in your tactic towards getting them to do something, and when you get pretty intensive resistance or complaining, then you shift towards being permissive because it's just not working and you feel bad about it. So really what you want to try to do is make sure that you're super aware of when you're doing it. I mean, sometimes you might use permissiveness for like weeks or months, and then all of a sudden you get frustrated with the fact that you feel like your kids are tuning you out or ignoring you, and so then you just go in the other direction and you're like crack down and use punishment until you get really frustrated and feel like, I can't stand how tyrannical I sound, and then inevitably what do? Typically you just switch back to permissiveness. So the thing with this is that your kids will figure out that the rules are different between one and the other, and especially if you and your spouse are using different approaches, they're going to use it to try to kind of bait you against each other. So make sure that if you're co-parenting, that you focus on not letting your kids do that, and that the inconsistency between you as parents doesn't set you up for your kids really kind of baiting you and knowing that they can test you and create more conflict. Another common variation occurs when parents differ in their respective approach. Kids figure out that the rules are different between their parents and learn to play one parent against the other. And in an attempt to balance each other out, parents often end up driving each other even further in their respective extreme directions. And so what happens is the inconsistency between parents sets the whole family up for testing and conflict. So that being said, when you're evaluating if you're using the mixed approach, do be very aware that if you are permissive in your parenting style and your spouse is punitive in their style, that you need to really, really focus on how you can blend those two so that your kids are not kind of playing you against each other and trying to wear one down and then have them talk the other one into being less strict. So thank you so much for tuning in to learn about the mixed approach to parenting. In my next video, I'm going to talk about the democratic approach, which would be right down the middle between permissive and punitive. And this approach is the approach that I would suggest that you work on using with your kids. It will create great consistency and effectiveness. And so I hope you'll take the time to check out that video. Again, my name is Vicki Ellis, and I am the Executive Director of Heritage Ranch Christian Children's Home, and I'm really grateful for you tuning in.